This message, Chosen One, did not come to you accidentally. It's wonderful timing. God Himself led you here. This is more than just a word. It is a confirmation, a spiritual insight. You've been silent recently, not because you don't have anything to say, but because you've outgrown the noise. What you may not realize is this: your silence is driving people mad. You have ceased protecting yourselves. You have ceased defending your actions. You've ceased to be a hypocrite. And, just as Jesus remained mute before the high priest and Pilate, your silence is unsettling the room. Let's go deeper. Let's break down this message into 7 powerful soul-awakening chapters, each supported by spiritual insight and scriptural truth. If you've been silent, aloof, or withdrawing recently, this word is for you. Before we get into it, be sure you like, share, and subscribe, because this isn't just another video. It is a divine confirmation intended for the chosen ones who walk in sacred solitude. If your spirit resonates with this frequency, put 77 in the comments section right now. That is not a random number. It's a holy signal to the Most High and the cosmos that you're in sync, grounded in serenity, and ready to receive the breakthrough that's been planned for you. Not everyone will reach the end. Only those chosen will grasp the power of quiet strength. Those who stay will gain clarity, deeper spiritual insight, and discover the secret gifts embedded in every word of this message. This is not a message you hear once and then forget. It's a living reality that unfolds layer by layer. Watch it again whenever your soul desires, because with each listen, a fresh divine key is unlocked. You may have missed it the first time. Let's dive in. Chapter 1. Jesus remained silent, and so did you. In Matthew 27:12-14, Jesus stood before His accusers, the chief priests and elders, who leveled false allegations against Him. They wanted Him to react, defend Himself, and speak up in desperation. But He did not. He stayed mute. And Pilate, the governor, was astounded, because in a moment when the world expected words, Jesus chose silence. Not because He was guilty, but because He had a purpose. That stillness was not weakness. It was wisdom, heavenly restraint, and holy certainty that did not require arguing with lies, because the truth had already been written. You, chosen one, have been treading the same route. They slandered your reputation, propagated whispers behind closed doors, and looked for flaws in your character. They waited for you to lash out, to crack under strain, to make a mistake only once in order to explain their betrayal. But you remained mute, not because you didn't have anything to say, but because you understood some battles were not your calling. You did not have to explain what God was about to disclose. You didn't fight for control because you trusted whoever was in charge. And that's what they couldn't grasp. Your quiet was not passive. It was powerful. It thwarted their plans. It disarmed their egos. It communicated more effectively than any argument. You do not have access to my energy, and that message is hurting their pride. They resent that they couldn't pull you into the muck, that their commotion did not disturb your peace, that their lies could not take away your mission. What they didn't realize was that your quiet was a weapon. Heaven was watching. The angels moved. God was recording every wrong and preparing for your public vindication. They assumed you were retreating, but you were rising quietly, tactically, and spiritually. You, like Jesus, did not need to clap back since you were always in line with the job. And that scares them because the truth is beginning to emerge. People are starting to see you for who you truly are, rather than the version that others tried to paint. Your fruit is apparent, your glow is inexplicable, and your peace is untouchable. And those who were once laughing are now quiet. The same people who sought to break you now watch you be blessed silently, regularly, and forcefully. You aren't merely walking like Jesus. You too are ascending, as He is. Keep your silence sacrosanct. Don't give up your peace for something small. Your destiny is too important to be sidetracked by drama. Allow your character to talk. Let your growth shout. Let your stillness resound in the ears of those who thought you were finished. Because in the end, the stillness they mocked will be the silence that confirms your success. Chapter 2. The Strength of Joseph's Quiet Ascent. When his brothers threw Joseph into the pit, he made no announcement. He did not beg for mercy or try to make his case. He did not scream when he was sold into slavery and taken away from everything familiar. He did not seek vengeance after he was wrongfully accused by Potiphar's wife and imprisoned. And he didn't curse the cupbearer for promising to aid him, but then forgetting him for 2 years. Despite betrayal, rejection, injustice, and delay, Joseph remained mute. But do not mistake silence for passivity. Because in that silence, God was at work. God was speaking in regions beyond man's hearing. God was promoting. God was positioning. God was preparing a throne behind the scenes. Chosen one, your life reflects the same anointing. They saw your stillness and assumed you were stranded. They assumed that your silence indicated you had nothing going on. But they were mistaken. So wrong. What appeared to them to be a silent season was in fact your most strategic preparation season with God. Like Joseph, your pit is transforming into a platform. Your jail is gaining purpose. And the same people who hurled you down will have to watch you rise. They didn't comprehend that every delay was divine, every rejection was a redirection, and that your quiet meant you were hidden rather than abandoned. God has a way of keeping His greatest vessels hidden until the appropriate time. And now the time has come. The palace is beckoning, the doors are opening, and your name is referenced in rooms that your foes cannot enter. Your ascension, like Joseph's, will not be forced. It will be because God has ordained it. And when you rise, you will not have to explain what you went through. Your tale will speak for itself. Your presence will have weight. The individuals who betrayed you will gaze at you in astonishment, unable to identify the version of you that God crafted in the stillness. They'll have no choice but to accept your favor, even if it proves their own harshness. Don't detest your silent seasons. Do not rush to be seen. Do not sacrifice your development for transient validation. Your castle moment isn't about making noise. It's all about purpose. Continue traveling in quiet. Keep trusting the process because, like Joseph, when your time comes, they will find you seated in the very area they sought to keep you out of. And they'll learn too late that they never intended to fight you. They were battling God's hand over your life. Chapter 3. When you don't respond, you get up. Sometimes the loudest person in the room is the most insecure, seeking control, approval, or attention. But you have chosen a different route. You chose stillness over chaos, knowledge over noise. You have chosen wisdom over drama. And now they have no idea what to do with you. You're unreadable and unshakable. You have become a mystery. They cannot unwind. And that is silent strength. It frightens them since they can't predict your moves. Therefore, they have no control over the outcome. When they can't elicit a rise out of you, they're forced to wallow in their own feelings, not getting the reaction they wanted. You regained your strength not by screaming louder, but by walking higher. You've exposed their games without raising your voice. Look at Nehemiah. When Sanballat and Tobiah sought to drag him into their petty fights, criticizing his efforts, belittling his objective, and baiting him into an unnecessary conflict, Nehemiah did not flinch. He did not cease building. He did not waste time trying to defend himself or demonstrate his merits. He stated, "I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down." Nehemiah 6:3. Allow that to settle in your spirit. I can't come down. That is you, the chosen one. You're doing excellent work. You are healing. You are growing. You are rebuilding. You don't have the luxury of distractions. The folks attempting to provoke you are not looking for a conversation. They are after your peace. But you've outgrown those types of struggles. You've stopped participating in circular debates. You are no longer entertaining fools with meaningless phrases. You've discovered that quiet is frequently the loudest answer. And your quiet is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is heavenly restraint. It is the tool God gave you to rise above the noise and stay true to your calling. Every time you do not answer, you develop. Every moment you maintain your calm, you rise. Heaven recognizes your maturity whenever you choose purpose over pettiness. They wanted a reaction. They needed one to boost their ego, but you gave them none. And that emptiness resonates louder than any retort could. They now sit in their perplexity. They wonder what you are thinking, what you are planned, and how you are still standing. And the mystery is your power. You're no longer the same person you were before. You've outgrown the need to demonstrate your worth to others who are determined to misunderstand you. You've realized that your energy is sacred, your goal is holy, and attention is your weapon. You do not have time for every voice. You do not respond to every call out. You don't stop building just to dispute with those who aren't building anything. Chosen one, keep your hands on your mission and your eyes on the promise. Allow them to talk. Allow them to assume. Allow them to spiral. Because while they waste their time attempting to antagonize you, you are constructing bricks, laying foundations, and fulfilling prophecy. You do not rise by responding. You ascend by refusing to descend. So, when they wonder why you're so silent right now, remind yourself that you're doing an excellent job and can't stop. Chapter 4. Heaven fights louder than you can. The Lord will fight for you. You merely need to remain still. Exodus 14:14. Allow those words to resonate in the depths of your soul. That poem provides more than simply comfort. It also serves as a plan. It's a spiritual blueprint for the chosen ones who have been misunderstood, abused, and misjudged, leaving them to stand alone in a world obsessed with clapping back, proving points, and defending their reputations. This passage invites you to a higher level of warfare and quiet, because being motionless does not equal doing nothing. It entails trusting everything. When you remained mute, they assumed you were weak. They misinterpreted your grace for passivity. They believed their lies would define you, that your quiet indicated defeat. But they couldn't see or understand that heaven was booming while your lips was closed. While you cried in secret, angels were deployed in force. While your name was dragged into rooms you had not been invited to, God was preparing rooms they would never be able to access. While they attempted to dull your brightness, heaven refueled your flame. Every closed lips, silent clapback, and disregarded insult was not your way of backing down. You stepped aside to let God shine off. You gave God the freedom to do what only He can do: expose, promote, and carry out justice on your behalf. Chosen one, your silence allowed heaven to shout louder than defamation ever could. It resonated beyond realms. It shook the foundations. And now the people who felt they had the last say are watching you grow without saying a single word. That is the type of conflict you were born for. Not the trivial ones that sap your vitality, but the holy ones that alter atmospheres. You are under no obligation to respond by SMS. You do not have to post subliminal messages. You don't need vengeance. You have receipts from God. And now you're walking indoors, something no one suggested you for. You're being blessed in front of the very people who expected you to break. You aren't only being seen, you are being revealed. Not because you fought, but because He did for you. Let them chatter. Allow them to assume. Let them plot. However, comprehend this. Heaven fights louder than you can. And heaven fights cleanly. Heaven fights righteously. Heaven fights with strategy, accuracy, and perfect timing. And so be still, chosen one. Not because you are powerless, but because you are fiercely protected. You do not win by shouting. You win by shining. You do not win by clapping back. You win by allowing God to clap forward. Fighting people is not a winning strategy. You win by flowing with purpose. And in this season, your victory will not be based on your voice. It will originate from your vessel, the vessel that prioritized peace over pettiness, the vessel that trusted in quiet, the vessel that surrendered to God. You're not only surviving the attacks, you are thriving because of them. Heaven battled for you, and it won. And what comes next? They will be unable to deny it. You will not need to explain it. The blessings of God will speak for themselves. Elevation is your portion. Not because you forced it, but because you were loyal. Every cry you held in became fuel for your future. Your stillness has now transformed into your loudest triumph song. Chapter 5. Your silence is undermining their power. The enemy feeds on attention. Narcissists feed on your reaction. Manipulators thrive on turmoil. And as soon as you fell silent, you disconnected their power source. You cut off the supply they relied on: drama, control, and access. You stopped giving them front-row access to your emotions. You stopped enabling them to dwell rent-free in your head, occupying space intended for tranquility, growth, and purpose. And now they are starving. You see, control necessitates a relationship. It requires access, a line of communication, a reply, and a chink in your armor. But you haven't given them anything. No rage, no explanations, no updates, no access. You became quiet, not because you were terrified, but because you finally realized the true weapon: quiet. They saw stillness as surrender. They assumed your distance meant loss. But in essence, the silence was a strategy. It was power. You were regaining your energy from those who were simply there to drain it. And now they're in a panic. They don't miss you. They can't control you longer. Saul despised David, not because he was anointed, but because he did not require Saul's approval. David did not pursue approval. He did not fight for the throne. He did not retaliate when Saul flung spears at him. He simply retreated to the wilderness and waited for God. That level of discipline, tolerance, and inner confidence scared Saul, because when someone is unable to regulate their emotions, They lose control of the story. You chose one and stopped performing. You've stopped explaining. You stopped protecting yourself in places you were never supposed to be in. And when you stopped feeding their ego, you reversed the script. They're now puzzled, disarmed, and uneasy. Your quietness is not simply quiet. It is sacrosanct. It's a barrier, a shield, a spiritual wall that no rumor, manipulation, or spiritual attack can breach. You've entered a realm where peace triumphs over pettiness, and your opponents are unprepared to deal with it since they were trained to provoke you rather than confront your power. Allow them to sit in the chaos. Allow them to feel the void you left behind. Because silence does not indicate weakness. It suggests you are wise. It means you understand your worth. It means you don't have to prove yourself to those who will never understand you anyway. You used to give them your words. Now you inform them of your absence. You used to give them explanations. You are now allowing them to wonder. You used to give them opportunities. You are now giving them distance. And guess what? That quiet is louder than any speech you could ever deliver. It's shouting about boundaries. It's signaling an elevation. It declares healing. You have unplugged from their system. You walked away from their story. And in doing so, you've assumed authority. So be silent, chosen one. Not out of fear, but due to a lack of attention. You aren't here to explain your shine. You are here to embody it. Allow your growth to confuse them. Let your absence speak louder than your presence ever did. Because in this season, your quiet is eroding their power and fueling your destiny. Chapter 6. Your stillness is a spiritual strategy. Jesus often went to secluded spots to pray. Luke 5:16. That was not weakness. It was the pinnacle of power and strategy. In those moments of seclusion, he was not fleeing from his mission. He was entering into divine preparation. In solitude, he gained strength. In seclusion, he gained clarity. In silence, he linked deeply with his Father's heart and received instructions intended only for him. And you, chosen one, have walked in the same hallowed knowing. Your stillness is neither an absence nor a retreat. It's a powerful presence. It is not avoidance. It is a position of divine power and authority. You aren't ignoring individuals or circumstances. You are safeguarding your spirit, the very substance of your God-given destiny. You aren't ghosting or disappearing. You're protecting your oil, the valuable anointing that powers your purpose and keeps you walking in supernatural favor. That tranquility, that focus, that holy fire within you is too valuable to be squandered on superfluous noise, strife, or distraction. People who used to be noisy in your life, who thrived on commotion, drama, and control, can't handle this kind of calm because it forces them to face their own mirror without your distraction. They must confront the aspects of themselves that they have been avoiding, including anxieties, insecurities, jealousies, and wounds. Your quietness functions as a mirror, reflecting back what they cannot escape. This is why they try to provoke you, draw you back into the commotion, or make you feel guilty for staying away. They fear your quiet because it exposes them. It demonstrates that your peace and joy do not rely on their approval or presence. Your stillness is a fortress that keeps you safe from their attempts to take your serenity. But you, chosen one, are learning the secret that Jesus lived by. Quiet strength. The ability to pause when the world demands loudness. The bravery to listen even when others are shouting. the ability to rest while others expect you to work harder, the knowledge to see that God's timing is right, even if it requires waiting in silence. Your stillness is a spiritual strategy. It's a sacred zone where God refuels you, reintroduces you, and unveils your next steps. In the solitude, He murmurs facts and answers that no audience can drown out. He creates images in your heart that no distraction can steal. While the rest of the world is confused, He gradually increases your faith. This stillness is both your battlefield and your refuge. It's where your most significant innovations emerge softly, invisibly, and forcefully. This is where your destiny is forged and your mission lit. Do not rush to fill the stillness. Don't feel compelled to justify yourself or respond to every phone, text, or accusation. Let stillness do the heavy lifting. Allow it to be the most powerful statement you ever make, stronger than any words or arguments. Let it be the game-changing move in your life. You're not falling behind. You're stepping into perfect timing. You're not lost. You are in God's flawless presence. You aren't weak. You are using a weapon that many people never learn to use. Remember that Jesus did not pray to flee. He prayed for empowerment. He did not withdraw to avoid controversy. He withdrew to prepare for triumph. Your quiet is your weapon, your sanctuary, and a strategic advantage. The gentle roar of faith shakes the heavens and changes your surroundings. So embrace your stillness. Protect it zealously. Honor it as the hallowed place where God performs miracles in your life. Because God is not silent even in your stillness. He is moving. He is arranging. He is preparing you for future victories. Chapter 7. The tables are turning, and you're unconcerned. Esther chose to remain silent about her identity not out of weakness or fear, but because she understood divine timing. She knew her time had not come yet. She quietly waited, trusting God's invisible hand. She moved with wisdom, knowing when to remain silent and when to speak with authority. And when the proper time came, her voice was not merely heard. It was powerful enough to save a nation. That quiet was not capitulation. It was a strategy. It represented faith in action, a calm strength ready to roar at the right time. You, selected one, have remained quiet but not forgotten. You've been overlooked, but never unchosen. You've been misjudged, but not without reason. You have been pushed aside, questioned, and even dismissed. However, your value was never lessened. The shadows you walked through were not indicative of abandonment. They were areas for preparation. Others perceived silence as absence, but God viewed it as alignment. Now the tables are turning. The same people who earlier derided your silence, scoffed at your patience, or questioned your faith are now watching your success. They are watching as God raises you higher than they ever anticipated. What is even more effective is that you are not bragging or boasting. You do not have to explain your journey or defend your success. You're glowing in God's favor, sleeping deeply in serenity, and moving forward with quiet assurance. True elevation does not require noise. True power does not demand attention. True blessing shines brightest when it is grounded in humility and grace. You discovered this reality while waiting. You experienced the sting of rejection, the weight of loneliness, and the agony of unanswered prayers. Throughout it all, you opted to trust God's timing rather than the world's clock. You chose tranquility over panic. You chose quiet over striving. And now, when the tide turns, You are unconcerned by the voices of those who questioned you. Their adulation does not evaluate your worth. Your goal is not defined by their acceptance, because your identity is determined by God's promise, not by human opinion. The tables are turning, and the atmosphere surrounding you is changing. Doors that were once locked are suddenly swinging wide open. Opportunities that appeared unachievable are now falling into place. Favor that was previously hidden is now visible to all. In the midst of all this, you stay stable, unshaken, unmoved, and unconcerned. Not because you are unconcerned, but because you are grounded in a greater serenity. Not because you don't care, but because you are most concerned with what God thinks. Not what men say, not because you have all the answers, but because you believe the one who does. You've evolved in ways that no one saw. You've learned lessons that no one understands. You've walked a route that no one else could. And now your breakthrough is more than simply a moment. It is a movement. So continue to walk in faith, chosen one. Continue to rest in peace. Keep traveling in silence because your time has come. Your destiny is calling. And when you succeed, it will be undeniable. Let the entire world watch. Let them whisper. Allow them to ponder. Your silence was never about them. It was about your purpose. And purpose speaks louder than doubt. Fear cannot overcome the power of purpose. Purpose is calling your name more loudly than ever before. The tables have turned. And you're standing tall, glowing brightly, and seemingly unconcerned.